Hello, welcome to the Square Base Show. I'm your host, Rob, and I am joined by my co-host, Val Heffelfinger. We're going to talk about event results and events that we've attended in the past couple of weeks.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Listen, important news. Not only are we great podcast hosts and great entertainers, but some of the best tabletop old world Warhammer players you've ever seen.
Amazing, really. It's incredible. I mean, the feats of on-field generalship that we are about to describe in the next 40 minutes going to be wild.
It's also important to note that both me and Val have professionally live streamed some of the largest Warhammer events around the world, both very media and tech savvy. And I indeed even own my own venue where I don't own it, I rent it, but where I can stream and record games from, and you're about to see almost zero game footage. This is almost,
I would say, in my case, zero game footage. I went in with the best of intentions. Rob coached me up real good. He had me with a big plan. If you ever see like an event report where it's someone playing and recording footage and talking you through, that is an amazing feat of mental acuity that I just don't have the sharpness for at this stage in my hobby / content creation career. Maybe if I just go into an event for the memes focused instead of trying too hard, I think that would be probably a smarter way to go about it for old Val.
Okay, that's going to be tough because you like trying hard.
I love trying hard so bad.
Either way, so this show today, or this video you're watching and this podcast you listen to, it's just going to be like a chill kind of like little catch up on some of the thoughts and events and things that we attended. I've played in 2 different old world events over the past couple of weeks while also simultaneously running them. So that's been, a feat. I was spare player, but also running the event, which is cool. And I really enjoyed it because it also meant I fully got a painted army on the tabletop, which was great. And as you'll see in the picture, bit of a cheat. I did a bit of a hack, but I got there, which is fine. But yeah, started playing some events, which I really, really enjoyed. There's been some really cool armies, and I got some ideas and some thoughts about some stuff in the different games that I've enjoyed and not enjoyed. So I got some feedback on that. But Val, let's start off with you. You have been to an event recently. Where did you go?
I went to the Capital City Bloodbath in Ottawa, Ontario. It is one of my all-time favorite tournaments. It was back on the weekend of August 24th. And it was the great return of Warhammer Fantasy to, well, actually, that's not true. They've ran, Danny McDonald's been running 6th edition events there for a couple of years. But Capital City, I believe, started as a Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition event way back when and became one of the better 40K events in Canada. And so I was really, really excited to get back out there. Where did you travel to?
I like the, so people might not know, but not last year, but the year before. I was at Capital City Bloodbath, live streaming 40K. We switch into our infield reporter, Mr. Val Heffelfinger, and he kept being like, I'm over here at the Warhammer Fantasy Battle Table. I'm like, we're covering 40K.
Nope, not that day.
Not that day.
I was so sick of 40K, and I couldn't remember the most basic stuff about 40K. Kind of like fantasy. So instead, I wandered the tables, creeping people out. Tech Priest Dicky actually cut up some of that footage into a video on Grim After Dark. My homies over there. So maybe I'll put that link in the description if you want to see some of those highlights. Yes, from our coverage of the Warhammer World Championships 2023, as I called them, with all of the fantasy players in those days. Just they were just trying to crawl out of their bodies when I was talking to them. It was incredible how uncomfortable I made everyone feel.
Good. Yeah. All right. Okay. So where did I travel to for my event? I went to here. I went to where I work. Literally the room outside of here, TSN Arena. We had two back-to-back events, which was super fun. One of them was not very well attended, which is the first time we've not had a very well attended event. But then one of them was an almost sellout event, which is fine. And honestly, I really do, some people. It's kind of the weird, and I love people in the comments to let me know what they think. It's that kind of weird vibe. People are like, oh, I don't want to go to an event with many people. Well, it doesn't have a lot of people. But genuinely, it was a really lovely time. It was a round robin. There was 6 of us. We just all played over the weekend. We went for lunch and dinner together. We hung out, and it just felt like a really extended weekend of getting to know people and hanging out. And I really loved it, and I had a lovely time. So shout out to Alex, Lee, Rebecca, and Andy that weekend. That was fun. And the next one was much more well attended. But I only played, there's going to be a little bit of a spoiler, I only played for half the event.
Oh, no.
Wonder why? Question mark. Why?
Perhaps you flew too close to the sun?
Maybe. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that I moved house. One of the two. It could have been one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? All right, do you want to kick us off with, did you take your Orcs and Goblins in the end?
I did. I took a what I thought was a pretty nicely refined Orcs and Goblins list. Again, went to school on Kyrie's finals list from the S-Bot, and sort of refined it to my own tastes. But basically, it revolves around 2 big units of Night Goblins with 3 Fanatics each. A big, well, not even that big, 16 Black Orcs in a brick with the big red raggedy flag. And also the battle standard pair goes into that on a war boar, and that basically gives me a unit with a static combat res of like, I don't know, like 6 or 7, and it can wah. So yeah, I think it gets up to 7 if it was. Anyway, but the goal there is that it can be challenged. It can challenge out a dragon and potentially beat it on combat res, and then also just in general is like very hard to shift. I can put my battle magic shaman in there if I wanted to give it a 5-up ward. I can cast the elementalism spell on it to give it a 5-up ward if it's going to get charged. There's all kinds of really fun things I can do with that. I also had one of my favorite tech units, Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, just a unit of 5 for running around doing stuff. 2 Doom Diver Catapults, which I think they did some work in this event, I have to say.
Finally.
Well, I don't know about finally. Like I had some good rolls with them, but they were just really useful for. I mean, D3+1 potential damage on them. Strength 8 -3 under the center of the template. Just it can put wounds on things that you need to put wounds on, which is just really fantastic. And then of course Black Orc War Boss on a Wyvern, no doubt. Switched him away from having a magic weapon to a great weapon. This allowed me enough points to give him the Talisman of Protection instead. And TSN spoilers, in my first game, played the only vampire counts. I played the only vampire counts guy at the whole event, and of course had 2 Tomb Banshees. That turned out to be a poor choice in that matchup.
Important for people to know that means that they're ethereal and you need a magic weapon to deal with them.
Yeah. And basically, anytime I ran into ethereal, which I think was not just that one time, I think there were some other moments, I basically just had magic missiles to deal with them, and that was it. And sometimes magic missiles just aren't going to be able to deal with them. One of my favorite little pieces of list tech that got added in here was that obviously if you're taking Night Goblins, for Fanatics, you need to have, at least 1 character per unit. And so you have to bring the Night Goblin something, either a Shaman or Big Boss. Because my Shaman I wanted to have on Elementalism, I didn't want it to be a Night Goblin, so I just had 2 Night Goblin Big Bosses. But one of them I put on a giant cave squig, gave him light armor, a great weapon, and a charm shield. And again, a Wallop is 1-hit wonder there. Would have been a good one to maybe work in so that he could go deal with things if he needed to. But for the future, maybe. But yeah, so he was really, really cool. He's just like a little character who could go and be in my backfield helping out. He did some flank charging, that kind of stuff. He was really cool.
All right, fun. Yeah. Capital City Bloodbath was how many people?
It was 40 people. CCBB had a problem. They were double booked with a cornhole tournament, which is like beanbag toss. I don't know. It's a very fun game in North America. You toss a beanbag into a hole, but they got double booked. So they got bumped from basically the airplane hangar room into like sort of more of a traditional. I mean, it was a very large conference room because there's 40K and fantasy in there or old world in there. But yeah, so they did have to cap their size a little bit. So yeah, they wound up running at 40, and the event ran incredibly smoothly under the watchful gaze of Andrew, who is the TO. He actually was, I don't know what your experience has been, but he was surprisingly bored, I think, a lot of the time. He was running around making, like helping out with rules and stuff. But I felt, again, that sort of that very vast, very collegial spirit translated even to this very try-hard tournament in Ottawa. So that was cool.
Yeah, I think generally, there are some rules where people are like, we don't know what the rules are. So like there's a couple of situations. Of the game I just played the weekend, I played Ed. There's a situation where, because a lot of the questions I ask when I'm playing are like, can you do that? And then someone's like, I can because of X. I'm like, that's cool. And then like you'd say, could you do that? And you're like, I think I can. And I'm like, that's fine. You do that. That's okay. Like, does that make sense? Like it was, especially as I was the TO. So I would always be like, what's the best way? A good one would be start of turn stuff. So like Green Knight popping up, Pillar of Fire moving up at the same time. Yeah. What's the ruling on when and who takes priority in that situation?
The active player.
The active player, but does the active player have to go or does the active player choose?
I think they choose.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a little bit of a departure from other game systems where the active player goes and then the inactive player. But like that's what I basically played it like in a game that I played against. But yeah, generally people just like they figure it out. They have a good time.
Yeah, the game works. Like the game does work. And there were definitely players there who like really knew their stuff. My Warhammer wife for the weekend was Shane Hall, and Shane is around in the Discords. He'll be our actual day of judge. I actually have deputized him to be the judge for the SBOTO coming up October 19th and 20th. If you're watching this, maybe there's tickets. Check it out on BCP.
Let's do it.
So yeah, he'll be our judge. He was a wealth of knowledge and information on the drive up because I needed some coaching, and he actually gave me a great tip for my fanatics, which I used a lot. Unfortunately, it failed me many times. But basically, using the teleport spell in elementalism to pick up my line hammered night goblins and put them on a nice long angle so they could reach really, really far down table, and you can put your fanatics in very frustrating places. So it was really fun doing that a lot. And also the best way to arrange your skirmishers was another great thing I picked up. So yeah, that is sort of the top level stuff of Capital City Bloodbath. How do you want to go about actually talking about some games?
I think you just talk about some highlights. I'll just, I think just like talk about like how you felt about the matches and who you enjoy playing, if you can remember, and like generally like just, not shaking off the cobwebs, because I think still now, I think a good thing for us to say to people watching 7 months in is there are people who've attended loads of events. There are, but there haven't actually been loads and loads of events anywhere around the world.
Yeah.
And then even then, you can't necessarily make it to all of them, et cetera, et cetera. So like, even if you've been to a single event, you're probably in that like category of people. 7 months is still not a long time to build a hobby and army together. Truthfully, get all the painting and stuff done. So, I just wanted to like, just say, what was it like? This is your third in real life event? I think this is your third.
I've played at least one RTT, maybe more. And then I played in a GT at your play. I played in the first one at TSN back in March.
I think you've done 2 RTTs, and this is your second GT.
Yeah, I think that's about right. So I have had the chance to get out there and mix it up. And in each one, I think something to really be clear too about is the internet has solved the game, let's say. But I think it really needs, one thing that really, really needs to be said is that the on-table experience is very different than the on-paper experience, like big time. Like there are powerful things, and there are things that just work very well all the time. 2 of those things would probably be Tomb Kings, anything undead. They're going to be quite reliable in what they do and their core mechanics and things like that, and they're going to be tough. But in general, we've talked about it so many times. You're just not rolling nearly as much dice as you are in a lot of other Games Workshop game systems, for sure, AOS and 40K specifically. And so things can go wrong all the time. Like just all the damn time. For example, in my first game against, I was such a salty sailor right out of the gates because I drew Brett, who was running a Vampire Counts list. It had 2 Tomb Kings, but it wasn't like he was like leaned all the way in it had 2 Tomb Banshees. But it wasn't like he was leaned all the way into a Scream list. This was not like your hyper tuned up Vampire Counts list, but it was still Vampire Counts and it was still good. And going against him, I thought to myself, okay, I've got a chance here. I can do this. And I just got, first of all, he made all the right moves. He played me well. He tied up my Black Orc with his Tomb Banshee, obvi. He was careful not to just bum rush me. He used his space and the things, the tools that he had correctly. I do not want to discredit my opponent, but my dice did not do what I needed them to do maybe once. And I was in such a low, pathetic state of affairs by the last moments of the game. I believe I said, I just want to go home, which is maybe the most pathetic thing I've ever uttered at a tournament, much less my first one. I apologize to Brett every single time I saw him after that because I was a lame opponent. However, when we were tallying it up at the end of it, after what felt like just an absolute raw beatdown, I still got, because we were doing the 20-0 system, I still got 4 points. And so when we tallied it up and I wasn't just 20-0'd, I realized all of a sudden, because I had forgotten in my utmost bottom of the canyon despair over, coming all that way, being super excited, trying way too hard, having way too high expectations, drawing the only vampire count off the top. So I was like maximum try hard mode because like I knew this was going to be a hard match. And hilariously, Brett said that, that in the car up, they had, been game planning for me. I'm like, great. That's exactly what you need to do. You need a game plan for me. But my list was definitely a try hard list. Like it was as efficient as I could make it. But anyway, so I was not mean to him, but I was a salty bitch, and I apologize. Somehow, I think still don't have a reputation. Maybe I'll give myself one by retelling these stories all the time. Things recovered for me, and then but this is the thing. So after my game with Brett, who by the way went on to finish very well in the event itself, I believe he finished maybe 5th. With his vampire counts. I go on to play an ogre player who then demonstrated to me poise under incredibly poor dice luck, because the ogre player, I believe I used one of my rock labas, the doom divers, to kill one of the cannon chariots that the ogres have, and it then caused panic to his butcher, who then ran off the table. So he no longer had any magic, which then panicked a unit of the little goblins that ogres have, and that ran off the table. He was just down massively before he even really got to do anything. He was not upset. We had a great game. We continued to play. Like I think I took every model of his off the table by the end. But he didn't let it didn't let him sour the match for him, and I think that was brilliant. And perhaps something I could personally learn from. And
as you're playing the game, you're like, oh, what is this attitude you're displaying?
Why aren't you just moaning and wishing you could be somewhere else? Well, no, because he was having a good time, so that was nice. Also, ogres, so that was Josh. So that was a good demonstration of proper grit and attitude for me. Do you want to do a couple moments from your games? What about the second event that you ran to? I mean, you did. How did you do in the round robin? Because I mean, speaking of sadness and despair, in fairness to myself, Rob also perhaps a little sad and despondent after his first event.
Yeah, definitely. A tale of two cities. Definitely. I had this was my army. just so everyone can see, I had a Demon Prince, a level 4 Sorcerer Lord, and I had 2 level 2s. The 2 level 2s Demon Prince all had the ability to know extra spells. So I had quite a lot of casting levels. And then most importantly, my level 4, my Sorcerer Lord, had the +1 to cast item. So everyone's getting +1 to cast. And then I have 3 Tzeentch warrior blocks, all giving +1 to cast to the wizards who are inside of it. Which is cool. So then you got like casting at +6, casting the level 2s are casting basically as a level 4, and then the Demon Prince if he's nearby at level 5. So pretty spicy. And then they all ran battle magic, and then I had a unit of Dragon Ogres and 1 Hell Cannon because Val convinced me to only run the 1. Actually, he tried to convince me to run none. But
this is in your first tournament or second tournament?
Both tournaments, same list, both tournaments.
Oh, I thought you ran no Hell Cannons in the first tournament.
No, I ran 1 in the first tournament.
Oh, the list you sent me was no Hell Cannons. So you snuck that in after that.
I did.
Okay, I got you.
I did. The important thing to remember also about this list is the idea is to just get it on the tabletop. So yes, you can see some Chaos Dwarfs that actually are Chaos Warriors.
Oh, is this a picture?
Yeah, are you telling me that warrior, that guy is neither a warrior nor dedicated to chaos? And I'll call you a liar, sir. Yeah, I'll call you a liar. Anyway, a Tale of Two Cities. And I actually disagree with Val pretty inherently. And I actually discussed this in a WhatsApp group, and we talked about it a lot over the weekend. I don't think the internet has solved the game at all. And I actually would also...
So the internet thinks that the internet...
Oh, the internet thinks. All right, perfect. Yes. Then we agree. We're sarcastically taking the piss out of the internet. Because my tale of 2 events really showcases kind of my feelings about how it works. And a good example would be what happened at the event weekend just gone. I wish I'd have made a video, but I was on the Sunday moving house. But the first event was a round robin, and as you know from running all battle magic, the idea is if I can get the perfect situation, because I can always default to the signature spell of Tzeentch, which is 18-inch range, strength 4, AP 2, D6 plus 3 shots 4 times, then I could potentially roll 4 fireballs, and also I can roll 4 pillars. So the dream is 8 magic missiles, 4 pillars of flame. Absolutely beautiful situation to be in.
That's going to happen for you.
That's going to happen. That's the dream. So yeah, that's the idea. I'm basically playing a gun line. And the first event I turned up, and like I said, it was a round robin. I played against dwarfs who immediately ran an entire unbreakable hammerer block at me. With a rune smith with 3 spells of rune breaking. And the one trick to beat my list is just run out as fast as possible, because immediately I lose, or be Chaos Dwarfs, or do anything else I'm about to tell you. So that was impossible, and I only lost by 100 points. So I was pretty proud of that. The next one was I can't remember who I played in order, so if I fuck this up, I'm sorry. But next, I think I played Alex, and he was running Chaos Warriors with the Infernal Puppet, which is literally which is cast on 3 dice, drop the highest, and then his 3 major units all had the Brazen Collar, so they had Magic Res 2, so it was cast on 3 dice -2. So I need you to know I was incredibly fucked in that game as well. I tried at every spell. I was like, Alex, my magic face, let's go. I was like, fail. Got one. He's like, I stopped it at my level 4. I'm like, brilliant. Fail. I just got nothing off. I'm like, okay, going into round 3, we've got this.
Now, how's your, like, where's your head? Like, is your head up, or are you slumping, or are you staying positive? Are you on your toes? Are you slumping?
No, I'm actually... So normally when you go to an event, you're like, I hope I don't get that matchup. Whereas I saw all the lists at the beginning of the day, and I was like, every list is a disaster for me. So I'm going into this round robin weekend being like, everything is bad for me. So like every matchup, and it's not who's going to fuck me. It's like, who's fucking me next? So then...
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Oh God! So then my next game I played against. I think I played against Bretonians. Because there was 2 Bretonians. Yeah, there was. So I played against Bretonians, and then I don't know if you know this, but Peg Knights are just really fast. And when you can stay outside of 18 inches, which is my threat range, and charge 19 inches, you can beat me. I can't hear you. You've muted yourself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think yeah. No, I think a 19-inch charge range would be useful.
Yeah, unsurprising. And then Duchard was there just being a fucking bitch.
It is
Duchard. so that was.
I can't imagine for just like a magic shooting Chaos Army. There's no mean lady that you want to see less than Elise Duchard, who on doubles will automatically. So if she rolls to dispel on doubles, will automatically dispel whatever she's dispelling. And deal, just for fun, a wound to you.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't even think you can make a save again. I think you just lose a wound. So, not cool.
So the day one was rough. Day two, I went into Chaos Warriors again, and then again the puppet. But I got really lucky in this situation because the first Pillar of Fire that I got was able to move really fast and really far, and then took out his level 4 with the puppet very quickly. At which point then, because there was no Brazen Collar, then the spell casting ramped up and I was actually able to win that game. All these other games so far have been a loss. But there was a moment where I was actually very upset about the game. I was livid because I turned around. So my partner, Louise, is a painter, for people who don't know, who's watching. And I was playing against Lee, and lovely fella is Lee, and he had a unit of chosen knights, and Val will be able to attest to this, and if you've been watching the show for a long time, the only thing I really want to do is run a bunch of chosen knights with a Chaos Lord on horse in. So excited about it. That's the first unit I picked up. I was like, these are fucking cool. And then the Pillar of Fire went through like 5 chosen knights and killed 4, and I was like screaming. I was like shouting for Lee. I was like, Lee! And he was like, shut up. And I was like, Louise. And Louise was like, what? I was like, who would win? 4 like of the most best knights, the most chosen warriors in all of Chaos, or this fucking circle? And she was like, the circle? I was like, yes.
Absolutely the circle, Abby.
I was furious, not for me, for him. I was like offended for him. Yes. And then my final game, super exciting news, was Rebecca, who's an excellent player, who guess what she had? Fucking Peg Knights and Duchard, right? And she's like, I'm just going to stand outside of 19 inches. I was like, well, fuck you. Yeah. And it was an incredibly shit weekend that I played against 5 wonderful people. And we had dinner and it was lovely and I had a lovely time. And I really enjoyed the experience. But I went into that. And I should also shout out, I apologize. Couple of little things. Number 1, the Hell Cannon killed itself or died in every single game. It never got a point. I need you to know it didn't claim a point ever.
Across both events or just the first event?
Oh no, the first event, because it does actually claim points in game in the second event. So I need you to know, because you have to take a leadership test every single time, every one of your turns. If it fails on the one, it just dies and everything around you blows up. Then it also obviously shoots, and if it misfires, it could just die. Then sometimes it eats its handlers, and then the rest of the time it just runs, and it just
licks its ball sack.
For some reason, it's got move or shoot, which doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, we covered that in the deep dive. It's sad. I mean, there's so many ways. Like, maybe even if it didn't have that, still probably a bit painful, but whatever.
Yeah, so that was event 1. I don't know if you wanted to carry on with your stuff or you wanted me to just bang you out about game.
Well, here, let me just bring it all home, maybe very quickly, because one thing was I got to play Shane in my third round. So he was playing a very tuned up Bretonnian Exiles list with, I don't know if you know this, but Bombards, which are supposed to be technologically not as good cannons. Turn out they're the best cannon in the game. They don't they don't blow up. They don't kill themselves. I think they're toughness 7. They are just like hilariously good cannons. He had 2 of those. He had a nice big brick of men-at-arms. He had, of course, a unit of at least 4 Peg Knights. He had just great characters. Anyway, I'll provide links to all of my opponents' lists maybe in the show notes. However, in that game, he kind of had me the whole way through. I had recovered myself enough, though, to be able to play cagely. And he actually, I think, only beats me 11-9, despite really having me. He also had the Green Knight, which the Green Knight is just epically good.
And the Green Knight. I promised I promised Jack I'd say it. I'm saying it. Ban the Green Knight. Ban the Green Knight.
No, we're not banning the Green Knight.
Ban the Green Knight.
You just got to make sure you could. So like Ethereal, being able to deal with Ethereal, I think in this game has officially reached like necessary list. Like if you're going to an event, you need to have magical weapons scattered about, ways to deal with Ethereal for two things, not just vampire counts, which may or may not be present, but the Green Knight, which I think will increasingly be present. Green Knight, in case you don't know, is a very good combat character on a horse, has a great amount of attacks, is ethereal, and can appear at the start of any turn on a 3-up. Well, maybe not the start of every turn, but on the start of up to an inch away, as long as they're in natural terrain, usually a forest or whatever. And then if you do manage to kill this guy, which I did, I think, with combat res once, he'll comes back the next turn. This time though on a 4-up, just because they're being nice. So Green Knight, very, very good if you're a Bretonian player.
Ban him.
Anyway, I was really proud of the game versus Shane because again, I feel like some things weren't working very well for me. I played as well as I could. Shane's an excellent player, so to go the distance with him was great. I then played Cleary, who I believe, Cleary was a dwarf player. This was probably my best game that I played. He was on his back foot because this was a mission where you had to have a portion of your army in reserve, and then they came on. But he was playing dwarves. He was playing Royal Host dwarves. So he kind of had to bring his big brick of like really tuned up hammerers onto the table. And in this game, I was able to be cool enough to like make a game plan. I was going to use my combat res brick to beat him. I didn't commit too early, timed it perfectly right, and got a really big win out of that guy. Coming into my last day, I played Danny. Poor Danny. I think Danny was probably my second opponent who got a bad game out of me. Mostly, he was playing Tomb Kings. Again, like a good Tomb Kings list, but not like, it wasn't the meta Tomb Kings list. It was, I think, perfectly, good list, but not like just to the nines. It wasn't like 2 Bone Dragons or like just a wall of T6, but he did have a Necrosphinx. And I know a Necrosphinx can fly. If you ask me a question, hey, Val, can a Necrosphinx fly? I would be like, yeah, Necrosphinx can totally fly. On a table, though, this is not the first time I've done this. When I look at it, it doesn't read to me as a model that flies. And this set up a just devastating situation, which I think he already had sort of the advantage on that side of the table. But essentially, because I thought he couldn't fly, or in my head, I didn't think of him as a flying model, he was able to like jump over a line of goblins into another line of goblins. And so I lost essentially all my night goblins before they could do anything.
No.
And that was pretty brutal. And he rolled me up from there. I fought valiantly and tried not to be too salty, but was probably a little bit salty. And also played a little bit slow. He was smart though. In the last hour, he like whipped out his chess clock. He's like, "Hey, let's split the time down the middle." It was really awesome. Actually, one of my big takeaways from this event for me personally is playing on a chess clock makes things better for me. It just really helps me focus my mind. Mm-hmm. It also makes me not worried about oddly enough, it makes me less worried about taking too long. And having that thought removed from my mind just allows me to make decisions faster. It's a weird thing for me. So Danny was right to suggest we use a clock to finish the game. And I think we got enough of that one done. He had a resounding win and was awesome about it. And then finally, I just want to shout out Wes, who was my final opponent.
Go, Wes.
I believe Wes was at maybe his first Old World event. I think he's definitely a 40K guy, but definitely his first Old World event. He was playing his beloved Bretonians. This is the only picture I have is maybe my Wyvern fighting one of the Pegasus Knights. But Wes was in full mail and helmet and had a sword. And in the tight quarters of
he was dressed
tournament,
up.
He was like cosplayed as a Bretonian knight, and this is his first Old World event. I was just like,
I love this guy. I love this guy.
And Wes. So we played that game. Of course, we were pretty close to the bottom tables there. So I did get the W against Wes. But what a mensch, was a fun game. Also want to shout out how many people at that. There were 40 people at the event. Pretty sure every single person of them either watch or listen to this show. That was my first experience because I've been on many like Warhammer related things, but maybe nothing that's garnered an audience quite like this one.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just wild how, I couldn't tell a story without someone be like, oh yeah, you said that on the podcast. I was just like, man, everyone here intimately knows me. And it's just it was an unusual but awesome feeling because I felt like I was amongst friends, no matter who I turned to talk to. And it was really, really great. And so many kind words said about you, Rob, and the show that we've done here. So hopefully when you get out of the TSN and you see just how many square vast people there are out there, it's pretty cool. So thank you everyone who does watch and everyone who I saw. Hopefully you got to see a version of me that wasn't horribly disappointing. And if it was, well, we're all human beings and we're just doing our best. So yeah. I
think you should
over to you, Rob.
You should own it. You should own it. When I had that circle in my hand, I was like, this is bullshit, Lee. He was like, I'm not bothered. I'm like, it's bullshit for you. Right? It's bullshit.
Actually, I should probably say wound up 3-3. So yeah, I was basically, I would say a good event for me, like in 40K days anyway, would be sort of a 4-2 if we're playing 6 games. And so it was a little bit less than what I might have hoped, but I was in a couple of games there that I did wind up losing that were just good games. And I lost to people who just played a little bit better than I did. And I ultimately was not upset. I did not walk out of there saying, oh, my day screwed me. Even though I did say that a number of times, I would not say that on the whole, that's the way it was. I think it was just a really great series of 6 games. We went 4-3. We went 4 games one day. Sorry, 4-2. 4 games the first day. Do you know what time we had to be there on the first day, Rob?
8 a.m.
Dice rolled at 8 a.m. We had to be there at 7:30.
That whoever is organized that is a criminal, and I would like to. If I meet you in Toronto,
he's providing most of the train for the SBO.
You're a criminal.
Toronto.
You're a criminal. You're a criminal. You're a criminal. Games start at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's when they start after a good breakfast and coffee. So that's like
it's a lot of games.
So that's too many games. Okay. All right.
Well, buckle up, buddy.
All right. Buckle up. 9. 9.
All right. We'll do now. We'll start at 9 for SBOTO. All right.
Okay. No, it's in 9 games that day. First day. 2-hour rounds.
No.
Get going.
We'll do 4 and 6, but we'll start at 9. We'll find a way.
Okay.
4 and 2. Sorry. We'll do 4 and 2. All right. So wrap yours up.
Oh yeah. All right. So then I went going to. So then the next week coming, I am now spare player again, but this time it's a sold out event pretty much. A couple of drops. So it's like 20, 22 people. And you got all sorts of people. You've got like Ed, Richie, Jack, like a bunch of people who play all the time. You got like Tom and Tom. You've got like a bunch of like big names, a bunch of new people as well, which is really, really sweet and lovely and fun to see. And then obviously I just bring the same list. I've had a very busy week. I've been moving house over the past couple of weeks. So I've been very busy. I haven't had time to do much. And I was like, cool, let's go. So jump in. And then game 1, I play Ed. Now, this is one of those really funny things where sometimes I like to call this a baby with a bazooka. I've had this in multiple different game systems. What I've done is I've seen inside the matrix of a game system. I found the most points efficient build that I can ever get. And then I come up against someone who is literally an illiterate man rock who is just like going to face thump a keyboard. And then they just bring the biggest guns or bazookas that is in the world. And then you think, my delicate game has been destroyed by someone who is completely stupid. In this context, though, I'm the man rock, and Ed is the man seeing into the matrix. Ed's like, I've got a Skaven list. I've got these gutter runners. Like, right. I'm like, I'm Steed shadowing them. I'm doing all these things. All these units are inside here. I was like, what if I just put like 4 pillars of fire through them though? And he's like, no!
No, you can't do that. No. No Pharisees.
No Pharisees. Also, a special shout out in this situation in Battle Magic. I've loved this spell the entire time. I like Curse of Cowardly Flight, number 6. Everyone else dogs on it as a spell, but when you're running a Hell Cannon, who occasionally will hit something, occasionally will hit something, and will drop a rock on someone and make them take a panic check. When you are fighting against Skaven, so Ed's running Skaven, he's running this kind of like, there's a couple of instances of this list as well, where it's this fun, list that does just like 1 billion poison attacks that like moves like 35 inches or something. I don't know what it is. But yeah, like very fast. Anyway, I played against that. And then I just dropped loads of pillars on him. He sucked. And then at one point he looked at it and he was like, okay, I'm losing. I'm going to run everything away. And I was like, I think you are losing. And then my hell cannon blew itself up. And then he was like, and then he said to himself, he's like, maybe I'm now winning. And I'm like, maybe you are. But I did win that game, which was pretty fun. Which is fun that I just gave him 215 points. And then, in the next game, I played against Scott from Triple Crown Wargaming. Love Scott, the Baron.
Yes.
And the Baron. And then unfortunately for Scott, same situation. His Grail Knights, I hit him with 1 pillar of fire.
Grail Knights?
Only 1 pillar of fire. I rolled the big 6 hits. I wounded with every one of the big 6 hits, and he failed 5 out of 6 saves. So I think my one circle took out, I don't know how many points, right?
Just a lot. A lot.
No, what was really funny was obviously he had the Green Knight ban it. And then the Hell Cannon does have magical attacks. So I just deployed him into the forest. But then Scott was like, I was like, ha-ha! Because I didn't really know how far a Green Knight needs to pop out. And then he was like, ha-ha, I could be an inch away. I was like, what? That's bullshit in Bullshit Mountain. And then he was like, then he just moved. And I was like, oh, you'll charge my Hell Cannon though. He's like, no, he's got magical attacks. And moved around him. And I was like, this is additional bullshit, Scott. And then there was a situation where, but eventually I was able to like put a pillar of fire over him. Beautiful. And then the answer I would always have is as soon as people would charge me, I would just immediately pop all my characters out of my units and create like his kind of like caster bunker that would that would be blocked up by the warriors. That was quite fun. And then the warriors would kind of hold a unit off for a turn, eventually. And then he marched the Baron over the top, and then I was like, "You're about to get 8 billion fireballs you cast your way," and then he died, and he was like, "This sucks." I was like, "It does suck. I apologize
for you."
Yeah, like it was really sad, and then he just ran away. So shout out to Scott. Scott was an absolute treasure as well. Like he was really, really clear on everything. I want to shout out Ed as well. Ed and Scott were both super, super clear about all of the rules interactions and everything. And I think they played super sweet, tight games. And then I played Orcs and Goblins in the end. Oh, by the way, Hell Cannon. He didn't charge it. No problem. The Hell Cannon.
Killed itself?
No, the Hell Cannon did indeed kill itself. But in this situation, he blew himself up. And when he blows himself up, every unit within 3 to 6 inches takes D6 strength 5 hits.
That's correct.
And then he took out 3 knights who panicked and ran away. Let's go, Hell Cannon.
So he did kill something.
Well, no, he killed 3 knights. I don't know if that's even a unit. And he cost 215 points. So,
well, whatever.
Whatever. And then in my final game, I played Orcs and Goblins. And Orcs and Goblins was really fun. And I think, and was actually quite scary because if you just launch 9 Fanatics, I think there was 8 Fanatics. If you just launch 8 Fanatics immediately from marching column into my army, which was the goal, then that fucks me. But thankfully, he decided that he was, and he was such a nice and fun fella. Like, I loved him to bits. And he was like, I'm just going to put all my wizards and BSB who weren't in units just near those pillars of fire. And I was like, great decision. Thanks for that. And then
appreciate that.
I just ran them all over. But then he hit me with the Fanatics. I don't have a BSB because all I've got is wizards. So all my units ran away. I was like, danger. But then I was able to run away into the good position, and then I cast more fireballs at him, and that was it. And then,
your uncle.
But then the next day, I booked a van to move house, so Rebecca came into spare player, and then Rebecca had the worst day because game 1 she played an same army. She played an Empire gun line, and like because she was messaging me updates, she was like, "Rob, the Empire gun line shoots further than us. What should I do?" And I was like, "I don't know, run at it." And then she was like, "That didn't work because we're infantry." I was like, I know. Also, the Hell Cannon blew itself up again. And then in the final game, played against Chaos Dwarfs, which actually was the feedback from the weekend because Chaos Dwarfs OP came first and second because I do just flaming attacks. And Chaos Dwarfs have a 3-up ward save against flaming attacks. And even the warriors, whose hand weapons are fucking flaming. Yeah. So it was like the entire army had a 3-up ward. And she was like, why have you left and given me these 3 terrible matchups? And I was like, I don't know. And I'm sorry. So to me, the list was stunning at the weekend. But actually... Yeah.
Kind of matchup dependent, perhaps a little bit.
It's sensationally matchup dependent. And actually, that's kind of like the quick TLDR I wanted to give from my feedback. It felt like so many of the matches were matchup dependent. And then some of the units are just trash, which I'd like to talk about in another video, where I'd like to talk about the things I'd like to change in the old world units, points efficiency, and those other things. So we should do that. How's that sound?
Teaser for next week.
Teaser for next week.
I hope everyone liked our lightning fast rundown. Rob, that was an incredibly succinct tournament recap.
Thanks.
And filled with a lot of emotional highs and lows. I'm happy to have gone on that journey with you.
Yeah. How Cannon didn't survive a game ever. No, that's not true. Rebecca made him survive 1 game. Rebecca! Never take one. Never take one. Next event, I'm taking 2.
Just maybe more of them would help.
No, because honestly, Cursed Cowardly Flight, where I make you take a panic check.
I understand. Yes.
And then the -1 leadership
Seems
banner.
Cool.
The -1 leadership banner.
A lot of conditions.
It's a lot of situations where maybe if you roll badly,
maybe they fall back in good order. All right, brother.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the tournament recap. Let us know about your tournament games in the comments below. See you soon. Thanks very much for being subscribed. Bye bye.